Jessica Data.
Hey everybody, and welcome to part 10 of the Maker to Market DigiKey Maker I/O series for Circuit Playground.
That's right.
Even MOSFET is meowing.
Even the cat's meowing about it.
Hold on. He wants to come up and say hi. So it's been a pretty amazing time. Like, we've had 10 weeks in a row of 10 videos about taking an idea from my brain and making it physical, prototyping it, shipping it. It's actually in the world out right now as a developer edition, and we're up to support. Right, that's the last of 10 sections.
Oh yeah, I think it's time for a recap.
Okay.
Is it time for a recap? I think it's time for a recap.
All right. So what have we been doing?
That's right.
Hey, MOSFET.
Welcome to Maker to Market, powered by DigiKey. They're our launch partner for Circuit Playground. Over the last 10 weeks, we've been doing a series of videos: concept, research, evaluation, design, prototyping, funding, marketing, production, distribution. Tonight's support, but before we get there, let's tell you where we've been. So,
what have they missed if they didn't watch? Which they should have.
Circuit Playground is one of the products.
Yep.
And what's interesting, if you look at the past 10 weeks, you can see like our site changes. There's a little flexible messaging area. That's what they call it in the biz. And we had the Star Trek anniversary. Before that, there was other things that were going on, and the logo changes based on that. A developer page, Circuit Playground Developer Edition. We take lots of photos of it. That was part of the marketing, was part of the production, was part of support.
These are beautiful photos.
Yeah.
Electronics can be beautiful.
Electronics are beautiful. And we started off with the concept. And that was when you came up with Circuit Playground. And concept and design, concept and research, and then design, all kind of went hand in hand.
Yeah, that's when I basically said, okay, I had this thing called the Flora, but a lot of teachers and parents and students out of the Gemma, they were contacting me and saying, look, these wearable platforms are easier to use than breadboard electronics, but they're not easy enough. We need something that's $20 that we can give to every student, every person in the workshop. They can do a lot of basic electronics, sensors, LEDs, just like all sorts of fun projects to learn electronics, learn programming, and it has to be all in one, and basically cover a semester's worth of education, but get started under an hour. And I'm like, okay, like, you're asking the world, but what can we do to maybe make this happen?
And educators should ask the world, because they're the ones that are changing the world.
That's true. I cannot begrudge them. I mean, they ask for the good things. I mean, they didn't ask for a pony. They asked for electronics, prototyping technology. That I can help them with that. I don't have a pony.
So in the concept and research phase, you, I think, did an excellent job showing all the different platforms that you looked at.
Yes, the Explorer, the CodeBug, LilyPad, ProtoSnap, the Makey, the Microbit, the PicoBoard, Digital Sandbox, Bear Conductive, all of these things that had been used in workshops that teachers said that they really liked. And how can I use that knowledge, look at what they did right, because I don't have all the best ideas. Like you said, good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Yeah.
Same with engineering.
I always hear that in business books. And then we also looked at our packs and others.
Yeah, what can people do with the packs that we have now? Here's what we are currently selling to educators, and we have been selling to students and workshops. And what did we do right with those? What do they want that we haven't been doing with those?
And then we looked at the projects that people were doing.
So all the tutorials and guides, what are our most popular tutorials? What projects do people love? What projects can we make sure that we can cover? Because the way I teach electronics is backwards. I like to start with the project and then have the person build the project and then teach them the theory behind what they built. So for example, the sparkle skirt, this project, or the LED tie or the firewalker, these are LED reacting to sound. So you'll build the ampli tie and you have this tie that reacts to music, and then you'll go back and learn about fast Fourier transforms and microphone amplification and maybe even basic filtering, and with the sparkle skirt, how do accelerometers work? That's stuff that I like to teach after the project is done, so that people have that sense of accomplishment. And then when they're going out to show the project to their friends, because these are projects that are meant to be shared within a classroom, within a workshop, within a group of people, they have the technical knowledge to understand what they built.
Okay. And then we looked at all of the workshops that were going on out there and what were some of the challenges. So how do you get a product that's low cost? What type of things can you do in a group setting? What constraints are there, like soldering or not? So we just saw a lot. Badges at hacker conferences.
The hacker conference badges are inspiring, and they're getting more and more advanced, and we're still getting ideas from them. The Made with Code project, they had an interactive online programming set up, but they didn't have hardware really. Yeah. So what would we have designed if we could go back in time and design something for Megan Smith?
Next up, evaluation. And this is when you took all the different sensor boards and all the different pieces of kind of what goes into a circuit playground, and you kind of wrapped it up and said, like, well, like if I were to squish it all together, what would come out?
Yeah, this is a little bit more prototyping. It's trying out all the different sensors and all the components and determining, is this accelerometer going to work for me? Is this sensor going to work for me? What can I do with the microcontroller that I'm choosing, and start to pick out the parts.
Yeah. Then we got into design. And most of design was me dispelling the rumors that Circuit Playground is Dr. Theopolis, and it's part of a marketing campaign for the reboot of Buck Rogers. But seriously, folks, we used EagleCAD, and by we I mean Lady Ada. And so maybe you could talk about, like, what did you design it in, and what was the process? What was the tool?
Absolutely. So I use circuit board layout software. So once you have all the parts on a proto board and you have all these wires, it's great for a prototype, but then you want to have your finished PCB. And this is, I think, the most fun part. This is when you get to figure out the shape and the look and how things are going to connect and where all the sensors are going to go. And I use EagleCAD. That's the CAD software I use. I always say it doesn't matter what CAD software you go with. You can use KiCad, you can use online software, you can use Schemit, even you can use Fritzing. You know what? Once in a while we meet someone who uses Illustrator, and they actually draw out traces for a simple circuit board. You can even do it by hand with Sharpie. It doesn't really matter, what you do, but you do want to get that finished design, multiple iterations to get it locked down. Get the board as small as possible while still being functional and, again, beautiful.
And, of course, at some point in the end, you get a schematic, and that's one of the things that we talked about and showed. So then we got into prototyping. And prototyping, one of the things that we like to share is, like, well, what can you do with something to see how it works, how it feels, and as we developed Circuit Playground, we were doing projects with it. So this is Circuit Playground wearable. Yeah,
this is the watch, a wearable watch that, you could have it do some sensing, and it's also a wearable. But this is 3D printed using flexible filament. So before we go to maybe injection molding, which is expensive and time consuming, you can start to 3D print, use these tools, 3D printing, milling, CNCing, hand molding with flexible hand moldable plastic to get a sense of what the enclosures are going to look like. Is this the right shape and size? Nothing beats holding it in your hand, holding the enclosure, and getting a sense of the size. I mean, keeping it, you have to do it in CAD, but get it into the real world as quickly as possible, and that's part of your prototyping. So, like, this armband that we designed in NinjaFlex, it actually was pretty cool. Like, you wore it. I was actually at first thinking, Circuit Playground is too big to be a hand wearable, but actually once we 3D printed the shape and you put it on, it wasn't too big for me. I have, fairly small hands. And
we're kind of getting used to the Android watches too as a society.
That's true. We put it on you, it worked out, and how long the strap has to be. And now we're starting to get quotes for injection molding. So these are very powerful tools. The whole point of the Maker movement is to get these quick turn, low volume prototyping tools into the hands of people almost every makerspace has a 3D printer, so that when you start designing your project, you can definitely include all these technologies, laser cutting, and the other mill that we've used also for prototyping for the testers. All these awesome technologies can save you a lot of money and a lot of time.
So that was a little bit about the concept, the research, evaluation, all the different parts that went into it, the design of it, prototyping with it. So then how are you going to pay for it? And so that was the next section, the next episode. And with that, we didn't only look at Adafruit, we looked at all the types of funding that going out there. So, of course, there were a lot of interesting success stories, a lot of stories that are still being played out, and some stories that ended. So one story that's going on right now is Little Bits. They're a hardware company, funded
open source,
62 million in funding right now.
It's very successful.
Particle, 4.23 million in funding, and we happen to stock their products. Fab, they were a high-flying startup in New York City and crashed and burned.
How much funding did they get?
336 million.
I think they were. Their valuation was $1 billion.
Yeah.
And now it's gone.
And then we went into the other options like crowdfunding, like Kickstarter, like Indiegogo. We happen to like Crowd Supply, and
which is also a fulfillment service, so it's a mix and match.
And then we talked about kind of the Adafruit style, which is a little bit scrappier, a little bit different. We haven't taken loans, haven't taken good venture capital. It's been what they call, I guess, bootstrap. And we even referred to an article that you did a million years ago. This is 2006.
This is still the best article on starting your bit. I swear, this is the best, because every other article is like, follow your passion and like understand your strengths. Okay, yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter whether or not your strength is in bookkeeping. You still have to do bookkeeping. It doesn't matter whether your inner passion is filing trademarks. You still have to file a trademark. So this actually gives you the no nonsense 15 steps of like legit, like step 1, register a domain name. Step 2, get your PCB files in order.
And we specifically talked about margins and where Adafruit tries to move towards, which is there's 240% margins. That way you can have resellers. And this is what usually kills maker companies, is they don't think of margins so they can sell it to someone else who can then sell it. And does it work? Well, debatable. Does the Adafruit style work? Does getting funding work? Does getting loans work? Debatable. However, here's what we can say. You were Entrepreneur of the Year by Entrepreneur Magazine in 2012. So someone thinks you're an entrepreneur. And then we hit the Inc. 505,000 3 years in a row. Calendar year 2015, just for that 1 year, over 42 million in profitable revenue. That's what Adafruit did. That is just 1 year, 365 days. So we're not here to say what's better. Every company is different and unique in its own weird way. That worked for us, though. It's
kind of like what the thing we always say. You can be really good at business and really good at electronic design, hardware design, and you can be good at both. You can be good at one, or you could be good at neither. So, it doesn't matter whether you go with funding, with bootstrapping, with crowdsourcing or crowdfunding, whatever makes sense for you.
Or all of them.
Or all of them.
Yeah. And
some of them do.
We've been doing this for 10 years. We didn't have these options. If we started now, we'd probably do something on CrowdSupply. We probably would have did something with Tindy. We probably wouldn't have built all the things that we built. There wasn't Shopify. There wasn't all these things. So
there was no Kickstarter where we started.
No. So that brings
I probably would have done a Kickstarter, though.
To marketing.
Okay.
And so in marketing, we went over all sorts of things, from the videos we put online to the puppets and kind of the Adabot Circuit Playground characters that evolve from all the things we've done. Our videos, this is Waz and Adabot talking about diodes. And
isn't Waz so cute in her little outfit?
Yes.
I love it.
And the things that are important to us is how do we get this information out to even a younger audience, who's the next generation of makers to market. And that's where Circuit Playground, the kid show, which is not actually a kid show, it's for adults to hang out with their kids so they can see that engineering can be fun. And we even go over things that we've never saw before. We have a Circuit Playground trademark. We talked about where to do that.
Oh yeah, this is important.
We talked about all the different social media places and how we look for things like hashtags, all the different parts that go into Adafruit, the advertising influence we have, the sites that we look at, how we keep track of our own success, the AdWords that we have, the Google organic, the Google search, the pay for sections, interviews, sections on our learning system, you name it, we did it. And we also touched on some of the more, I'd say Adafruit style ways to market, which is good information as advertising. Mm-hmm. So this is just a clip from our show and tell where someone already built something with Circuit Playground. This was Morgan.
Yeah, she made a yo-yo.
Yeah, and she's showing a use that we didn't even think of. Mm-hmm. And so if you do a good job, your community is part of your marketing, but you're not telling them what to do. They're doing the things that you've empowered them to do. So then we get into the fun part, which is production, which for us, production and marketing are very similar because our production is the time that we get to show what we do. And if you're showing what you're doing, that too is a
This was cool. You did a bunch of 360 videos.
That's right. And
you had to meet Michelle and Vance.
Yeah, and we showed how we run this. Now, when you manufacture in the US like we do, you can show all this stuff. A lot of companies, they don't even know where their stuff is made. They don't even know where the factories are. They just have a broker or someone else. It's one way to do it. We like to do our stuff here. So we've got, all the different types of videos, all the things that we make.
We always say it's funny that when, you talk to, or sometimes we read articles about, getting like hardware startups, you want to do a hardware startup, and they always say something like, well, just send it to China. And, that's it. There's no discussion of like how that works, who's actually making it. Like, there's just this, magical China will make it. This continent of billions of people is going to somehow take care of everything that you ever wanted to. But this video set that we did shows the actual machinery that is going to be used. And when you design, if you design for manufacturing, and not just following the DFM rules of what your PCB says, don't put the component near the edge or don't put the via in the pad, actually thinking about how the machine is going to make it and optimizing it for that machine will save you so much effort. I remember we did a teardown of the Shine wearable, and it had these like micro drills in aluminum. And later on, we heard from the CEO of Mr. the lead designer, and he said, if I had known about the manufacturing processes, I would never have designed the first one that way. I think they probably lost money because it was so hard for them to get these micro drill aluminum pieces.
Apple bought them all up or something like that.
Yeah, but it's like there's this idea of like, if I've seen it in any product, I can afford it. And then when you actually hit that design and the manufacturing step, you may find that your yield plummets. So even though it's possible to get micro drilled aluminum, suddenly instead of what you think should be a $1 part, it's actually a $20 part. Your cost and your pricing is completely out of whack, or maybe only 1 out of 3 looks good enough to sell to a customer. Then you're going to be stuck in a place where you have to move forward. You can't go back because you've already promised people this look. Again, it's the issue with Kickstarters is you've already promised something before manufacture.
The design is a lot different than the thing you get. So we did the 360 videos. Not only did we show how we make stuff, but we put the full 360 video on YouTube, and so you can use a phone or a VR headset, and you can look in the Adafruit manufacturing section and meet some of the folks who build things and kind of explore around as we're talking to them. We also showed, I think, something that's really important, testers. And we have a Circuit Playground tester. How beautiful that is.
Wow, that's nicely lit.
And we showed how the testers actually work, how we test them, why we test them, and this is usually the maker to market part that hangs people up. So you're sending stuff off to a factory, you're designing a tester, 6 to 8 months later, and you're already on another version of the product. We do rapid manufacturing, so we're able to do all of this here. And we also have the engineer, Lady Ada, sitting 20 feet away from the means of production. So that's worked out for us.
Yeah, also like your tester may need changes and updates. This is something that's happened to us. We had an unrelated to Circuit Playground, but we had a cellular module, the firmware changed, and it no longer passed test because, a delay was a little bit longer than it used to be, and it actually made the tester out of whack, there was no way for me to predict it because the previous versions had worked fine. So being able to revise your testers and keep record of your engineering change orders with regard to not only the product but the testers and make sure that they're in lockstep is a challenge and this is something that nobody ever talks about in manufacturing. Everybody always says like, oh, we're in manufacturing, this is easy. They always don't talk about the challenges that they've had with tester management and yield. It's always hidden, even though, when we go to bars with some of these people and we get them a little bit drunk, they'll start telling us these stories like, oh yes, the tester, I thought it, things were passing and they weren't supposed to pass and we had to open up every single board, we ordered this thing and it was soldered on the headers were soldered on the wrong side, so I had to throw out 3,000 of my boards. Or I spent Christmas soldering wires of a motor onto a board because they weren't epoxied properly. The legendary stories abound, but you won't hear about them.
Yeah. I don't think it's probably fun to drink with us. Anyways.
What?
So,
What the most fun? What are you talking about?
I think one time when you looked at, we were at a bar and someone brought their hardware, and what they said, oh, thought Phil was intimidating and Lamore was enlightening, and then it got switched over. You were intimidating and I was enlightening, because in that particular case, you picked up something and you looked at the board and you're like, oh, you made a mistake with it, and then there's like,
I did not say that.
It was something that was you saw the mistake they did, and they had a flight. The little
they did. They had the blue wire.
Yeah,
that was funny.
And you have these X-ray. You have this X-ray vision, and we actually helped another company before they went to manufacturing. We noticed something in a schematic, and we told them, and we actually helped save them a lot.
They would have gone into manufacturing, and they would have had.
Yeah.
They would have shipped probably 5,000 boards. And the pin, it was a pin that was not open drain, and they thought it was open drain.
Yeah.
And so they connected two open drain connections, but actually the pins would have fought. And they're like, well, it passes test fine. I'm like, well, the pins, one of the pins is going to fight the other one. But eventually, when it gets the customer, months later, you're going to have failures, you're going to have yield issues, and you're not going to be able to trace it down. You might have to do a recall of 5,000 boards. So fix this now, even if it means throwing out all your PCBs and running them again. And I've done that. I've done that like 3 times. I've gotten PCBs, done a small run, or just getting the first article done, realizing I had a mistake, and then tossing out a bunch of PCBs, thousands of dollars, but it's worth it to not have to deal with the support burden of a recall.
So, even though I guess the maker market gets competitive, we've always done that. If we saw something that we knew that we could help someone out with and let them know. We have and always will, because
they were smart. They released schematics ahead of time, and so I went and I took a look at them. This is one of the benefits.
Yeah. Okay. So distribution is what we got to.
Okay.
And that was last week. And from our humble beginnings of just a few packages to then a cart of packages to a lot of packages.
Pallets.
To pallets. Lots of pallets.
Yeah, we wrapped the pallets. We part of the deal with UPS. We don't have to, but as a kindness to our UPS rep, and in lieu of good pricing, we separate out. No, we do. Look, if we were jerky, we probably wouldn't get as good pricing. But we said, hey, we'll palletize them and we'll separate the packages from the envelopes. We organize it, and they're like, hey, thank you. You're nice people.
So
we're nice people.
We've got up to over 40,000 packages per month that we're shipping out. Here's you shipping out the first batch of Arduinos.
Yay!
We make the Arduinos now in the USA for Arduino.cc. We talked about same-day delivery and why and how we had to do it. Our thousands of distributors, you're not going to be able to do it all yourself. We have about 2,000 distributors worldwide. We talk about how you can find them, which ones, of course, DigiKey's in there.
You know what? Actually, we didn't mention, but we should. We didn't mention the distribution, but a lot of small kit companies and businesses, when they start out, they lie on customs forms, and they put.
We talked about with that export compliance.
Right, we don't. And eventually,
You can't, yeah.
you can't. And of course, you can't, and we don't. Eventually, if you're a small maker, as you get into market,
Yeah.
you won't be able to.
Yeah.
You will
So
you will
do
get
it-
caught, and you'll actually get blocked from a country. So
Yeah.
it's important to fill out your customs paperwork properly, and that means that your customers might have to pay customs fees, which is why you have distributors, so
Yeah.
that they don't have to pay customs fees because it goes through the distributor.
Yeah. And then we hit our milestone not too long ago. We hit 1 million orders. We told you how we got there. We went over some of our export compliance and what we do.
Yay, America!
The export controls that we take care of, the red flags that we look for in every single order, how we ship batteries, our retail partners, the values that we like to see in our retail partners, the type of partnerships we like to do. This was a program we did with Atmel and with Micro Center. Some of the new ones that we're talking to, Radio Shack, and some of the challenges, getting all of the new maker stuff. They're rebooting Radio Shack. And that brings us to our final video in the series. So those were the first 9. And now we're up to support. So support is probably one of the topics that's very much like marketing. Everyone has experiences with marketing. Everyone's a marketer because they've been marketed to. And everyone...
You said everyone's a film critic because everyone's watched films.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a valid thing to say. Just like everyone has had good and bad customer support experiences. Everyone doesn't like Time Warner or Verizon. And so we all just try to do better than that. But one of the things that I thought we'd start off with is it all starts now with this product that we're talking about from Maker to Market, Circuit Playground. So one of the things that we care about is, what does it do? Can you see it in one photo, one glance, so people know what they're getting? Can you have a human hand so you can see how big it is? Some type of thing. We happen to use a quarter. You can use other things. A video of it in action. If it lights up, show it lit up. And that gets us to one of the most interesting things you can do in this like bandwidth unlimited world. Have a video. So
Oh, a video is great. If you can do
Yeah.
a 30-second video like this is a 40-second video that will explain why what you did is great. Now, this is actually the irony of electronics. So, one of the things that it's endearing, but it also a little frustrating about engineers is we're very bad at explaining why something is interesting to anybody who isn't already an expert. So, I'll see products where they'll try to explain why it's interesting or why this kit is useful, and they'll say, oh, it has like 24-bit DAC, and it's got like I2S output, and you've got 4 cores and 80 MIPS, and I'm like, okay, but what can I do with it? What is it good for? And they're like, oh, it's you can make your own guitar pedal with it. It could do audio synthesis and filtering. And I'm like, okay, great. Thank you for explaining what it's good for. Don't just list specs.
Yeah.
Because when you list specs, first off, you just get into a spec war, which is, going to bite you in the end, because somebody will just come up with, there's always the joke of like the grid, and somebody always has like all the check marks, and it's like, well, you left some things out, of course. But explaining what you can do with it is really important. And so when we do Circuit Playground, we like to quickly show a lot of projects, and we'll talk about that as part of it. Not to just show like the schematic, but what it's good for.
Yeah. So one of the things that people do is they use basically 2 search engines. They use Google and they use YouTube. And so we like to do lots of videos. We also like to make lots of guides and lots of tutorials and show the project. Customer support doesn't start after they purchase your product. It starts before. You're educating someone about all the things it does and it doesn't do before they even hit the buy button. And that's why sometimes you have to use repetition, you have to use bold, you have to show,
set expectations.
Yeah, you have to say exactly what it is. You have to say batteries not included. And one of the ways that we do that is through our learning system. So that's at learn.adafruit.com. We have 48 or 49 tutorials. And this was built for the most prolific tutorial writer on the internet for electronics, Lady Ada. And Justin and Tyler and team do an excellent job, and it is probably one of the most advanced learning systems. Now, since then, there's things like Hackster and Hackaday.io. At the time, there was Instructables. It didn't really fit what we needed it to do for our products and the way it needed to be integrated into a store. But it didn't matter. We still put stuff there. We had a wiki, but this is our version of like how can we teach electronics and learning through project-based learning. So I guess I think we've shown some behind the scenes, but why don't you show?
Yeah, why don't you show some?
Yeah, why don't you show one of the Circuit Playground tutorials and show what it looks like behind the scenes? Yeah. And I'll go to the computer.
Okay, so this is the product page, and just to show how we tie these together. At the bottom of the page, we actually have the Learn section, and it has all of the guides and tutorials that we have. So here's all the projects so far that we have. So we've already got like 7 or 8 different fun projects. But the first one is Introducing Circuit Playground. This is the tutorial that we launched with that just basically introduces it. What can it do? What does it contain? I really like bullet points. If I'm going to do specs, I'm going to have them in bullet points. Here's what's included. And, a basic start with an outline. And then because I'm logged in, I can edit this page. And this is what it looks like behind the scenes. I have a WYSIWYG editor, so I can, bold things or underline them if I have to. I can also include embeds, so I can embed a YouTube video. I can insert images. I can insert a product link so I can have the product in line. I can write code in Markdown. I can add a button, click here to download. So I can, add interactive elements. I can also do, what's some other fun stuff?
Tables.
Tables, raw, which is only I'm allowed to do if I want to add raw JavaScript. Side to side, that's used in our soldering where you have a photo on the left and then text on the right. I like those for instructional learning.
You can also add code, and we can embed things like Code Vendor.
Yeah, so this is like Hello World. Yeah. And it shows up as a block that is more code-like. So I use that for interspersing code, and then you can have different.
Put a URL, turns it into a YouTube video. And embeds
you can do embeds. There was also there was FAQ, and there was, I think they removed it, but there was the quiz question.
We're adding a quiz feature soon.
The quiz feature is being, but there's a FAQ. So how do I do it? Here you go, and then I can have this link go to Adafruit, and now I have a FAQ element, so it's easy to link to, and they have anchor tags. So all this is a little bit more advanced than what we used to use, which was a wiki. When you're starting out, you can use a wiki, but it's just hard to do things like embeds. There's a lot of more manualness. I found it frustrating. I could, do it, but it would be challenging to get as many tutorials out as possible. And another nice thing is it'll create a PDF. So this is actually one of the most important things I can say. If there's going to be a tutorial, you have to have a PDF. I don't suggest only having a PDF because you won't be able to update it as often. So what I think is best is you have a web page, and then if you only have one product, just print it to a PDF. But a lot of people actually want to download a PDF. So this is the tutorial, but in downloadable format.
I'll say this, also the other thing is you have to be careful, and Clayton Christensen said this in Innovator's Dilemma, listening to your best customers sometimes can steer you wrong. Sometimes it can steer you right. So if you listen to some people, they'll say, I hate Adobe PDFs, I hate PDFs, let's never have PDFs. And the reality is a lot of people download and use PDFs for instructional learning. So if you have a learning system, if you have a tutorial system, you're going to need to generate PDFs if you want to serve your audience and community and customers. Mm-hmm. And so you have to make sometimes some decisions that maybe the technologists and the people who, like, we don't like Adobe PDFs, we don't like Adobe software. That said, we know that a lot of people still use it, rely it, and/or are forced to in an academic setting. They have to use PDFs, and they might not have an internet connection.
Yeah, maybe they do offline learning, or they're behind a firewall.
Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff.
Honestly, I don't know, but I do know that they want PDFs.
It's one of the most popular things, and when our PDF generation doesn't work, we know about it in about 5 minutes, and not because of a fancy alert system. It's because someone is downloading it and they're saying, "Oh, this image is off," and this is really complicated and hard.
Yeah, this is a challenge.
Kudos to the team who dug in and did this, because making PDFs is tough and doing it right is tough. So,
one other thing that we do that is kind of neat. So, for example, like Windows driver installation, like this page, which is in our tutorial. If I click edit, it'll actually say this is a mirrored page. So what we did is, so many of our guides have up you the same information. Like, for example, if you're teaching somebody how to use Raspberry Pi, almost every guide starts with, okay, burn Raspberry into your SD card. And so instead of rewriting all that text, we can mirror a page in.
Yeah.
And as long as you write it in, I don't want to say vague, but you just don't, I say your Arduino compatible board rather than saying the exact board, you can mirror it in, and then it comes from a different guide that I only have to edit once, and then it will automatically be updated everywhere. So it's a dynamic page. So that's really valuable. So keep that in mind as you do more and more documentation. You want to have a balance between, you want to have the information there. You don't want all of it to be hidden. But you also don't want to have to go to 6 locations to update it. This is a thing that will burn you, because you'll always forget that one location will be out of date, and somebody will get confused. They will not realize they were on the wrong page. You won't know where they're at. You could spend hours trying to debug something. So having the basics centralized and then referring people to that is a good idea. I used to go the other way. I used to think, oh, you know what, we should just I'll just copy and paste it, but software just moves so fast. The Arduino IDE has changed, the way you install libraries has changed, so I always like to refer back. It's a technique I learned.
So our first line of support is people are searching online, and they're searching in a couple of places, usually Google, usually YouTube. So we have the learning guide, and that gets indexed by Google.
And this gets indexed very well. It's usually the first link.
And because we don't take ads, we don't have spammy content, and we're just making good information, that's a form of support and a form of marketing and advertising. Someone is going to type, I want to make a sound sensitive something. Our Learn Guide might come out, and you can see the add to cart, the buy button is very close to the means of support. That also might be suggesting some solutions for them. And
again, it goes both ways. The learning system and the store are smart, so the guide will automatically appear in whatever product we've added on the right here, so that they'll link together. So if you go to the Circuit Playground product page, you'll get pointed towards the guide. If you're on the guide, you get pointed towards the purchase page. So it's as close a tie as possible. You can add to cart, and then up here you can click on the topic, and we have a full category with all these projects that get updated. So you can check out all the Circuit Playground projects as they get put up.
And most of the time people find that we've probably already covered what they need in a guide. And when you look at platforms that we're developing, we have a really neat combination of content. So right now we're doing stuff with MicroPython, and Tony DeCola, who's doing a really great series of guides, has companion videos, combining those two, putting it on the blog, it gets out to Twitter, and all these things start to happen, and then people know where they can get help and support. But, this is great if you're just teaching, but what if your package is lost? What if there's all the other things that go with support? They think their credit card was mischarged, or they want to change the billing or whatever. So,
there's technical support and there's customer support.
And then there's order support. Mm-hmm. So one of the ways that we solved it is we have a contact form that helps triage all the different things. So we constantly update this to be really refined. Now, up until recently, and like recently is like 3 years ago, and then recently, as far as I've been completely out of support, it's been like I still do a little bit once in a while, but it's only for ones that are escalated up to me. But I did all customer support, triaging it, and Lady Ada would do most of the technical support, and then we had people, and still have people, engineers in our customer support forums. And so one example that I think we did a really good job with is if someone says they have a missing part, they're logged into their account and it shows their last order and it has all of the things that they ordered, so they can just say, this is what I'm missing.
Yeah,
and it moves
that
it
is
really fast.
so helpful, because basically what you want to minimize as much as possible is the back and forth of, well, what order number, which product, and they'll always, it's very confusing, and they'll get the wrong one, or heck, we've had people who've contacted us and said they were missing a product, and it turns out they didn't order from us at all. This does happen.
That happens a few times a day.
Yeah, it happens a bit because it's just there's so much purchasing going on.
You haven't seen support recently.
I know.
But one of the things we do too is we'll make videos, and I'll get to that in just a minute, of some of the things that we can't just send it in an email. We kind of have to show you, and it's not a phone call thing, and it's not even a photo thing. Sometimes it's a video thing. We'll get to that. But some of the other things that we have is modify an order. You can't really do that. Cancel an order. Sorry, been shipped. You can't do that. Delivery status. We show you how to do the website error. It pulls in the browser and information, so we have that right away. Returns. We show how to do that. Press and media inquiries. We tell people how to get a hold of us. We also say we're not taking on any speaking. That limits the amount of times that Lady Ada gets asked to fly to another country.
They'll say, I know you're not taking any speaking engagements, but I have a speaking engagement.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool that people are interested. What scales really well is doing videos and getting them out to the world in 2016.
Yeah.
One of the things that you have to be good at with support is, it's pretty easy for anyone to get a hold of you now. So you have Twitter, you have Facebook, you have Google+, you have Instagram, and, politely declining even things that seem interesting. One of the things that we don't do and we won't do is fly somewhere for a private event with like 20 millionaires to entertain them so they know the next big thing. And we get asked this all the time.
I get asked to entertain venture capitalists all the time.
And so
they should just hire clowns or something. I mean, like,
I
there's
think
people whose jobs are to entertain.
Yeah, I think they think we're clowns in a way. So
am I funny? Okay.
So what we've decided to do is have the contact form as kind of the first round of delivering that information. So when you choose different things in the contact form, it's delivering a video, or it's delivering text, or it's delivering text and a video, or it's delivering what you can do next, or it's delivering an FAQ.
There's just like the policy, the Pareto theory of like 80-20, where 80% of your 80% of your customers are going to be asking the same question. Mm-hmm. So if you can take care of those 80%, it'll be much easier to take care of the more complicated 20%. But most people's questions are very similar. I want to return an order. My order was lost. I want to cancel. They're not going to email us and say, "Hi, I'm an alien from space. Where's your Stargate?" Unlikely.
Yeah.
They're going to ask. It's like if you're going to a pharmacy, you're going to be asking, where to buy like tissue paper. You're not going to go in there and start talking about nuclear physics. So if you keep it on track and sort it out, you saved hours.
Yeah. I mean, we get questions about gravity waves once in a while, but that's my fault. So one of the things that we try to do is have all the answers right away. And then over time, what we do, if we notice there's a bunch of frequent questions, we will have them in the guides, or we'll have that automatically in the contact form. So it's telling you, like AdaBox, we just released a subscription service. So if you go to the contact form, you hit AdaBox, we hit all the stuff. Number one question, do you ship it internationally? So the contact form tells you no. So that decreases 10 or 20 or 30 emails a day right there.
Oh, yeah.
And still to this day, I think like maybe a couple times a year now, I'm the only person on support. The support team, we make sure everyone has time off and everything, so I'll volunteer to do it. And it's still manageable. I can still do it. One of the ways that we do it is we manage it with Google. One of the cool things about Gmail and Google Apps for Business is it can store 1 billion e-messages, and often you're talking to customers for years, and they might be a reseller, they might be a customer that has had frequent issues with shipping, or who knows. And so we're able to, as a group, work on it together, and we have different people.
And this is sort of an anti-pattern, because everybody else says, oh, you should get a ticketing service, software as a service.
It doesn't really work.
And we've tried them, and it turns out that Gmail actually worked really well.
Yeah.
It actually is the most powerful, most modifiable, fastest, most distributed.
Yeah, and there's lots of like ways for it to interact with things. So it can be useful with your shopping cart system. So when someone's emailing you, you can see their order, you can see history. There's all sorts of stuff. There's lots of things that pile on top of a Google app for mail. So another thing that we do is fraud detection. And we put this in our export compliance, and when we presented to a government agencies about how we do stuff, they were really impressed, one, with our export compliance, and two, our fraud detection. So our fraud rate is statistically 0. And by that, we can go months and there won't be a single fraudulent order. Now, if you're clocking in $3 or $4 million a month or $5 million a month in online sales, when I tell this to other companies, they're like, there's no way that's possible. So a lot of it was just because someone ripped off Lady Ada early on in her business. They used a stolen credit card, they shipped it to a freight forwarder, and it was like...
I was completely not prepared.
It was like $800 and it was gone.
I didn't.
It was a Zoxbox, right?
No, it was a Zoxbox, some Spoke Pops. I was completely unprepared. I didn't understand. I thought, if my merchant is letting the credit card order through, that means it's not fraud. Nope. They will let fraud through all the time. It's up to you. It's your responsibility.
Yeah, the merchant is always responsible. Don't ever think anything.
You're always responsible, and you will never win a chargeback.
And other companies, they told me, there was a 3D printing company, and they were saying hundreds of thousands of dollars a month were lost to fraud. 3D printers, Raspberry Pis, drones, those are all things that...
Number one, yeah, absolutely.
And so we built a very sophisticated... Now there's Sif Science, that's one that's up, and there's a couple others that do a job that's, I'd say, similar to ours.
Yeah.
We have ways to classify something. So if the IP is different than the location, the email address is different than the name, and the billing and the shipping is different, and just a variety of things. It weights the order. So when you talk about customer support, dealing with fraud is a huge time.
And you won't even know that sometimes you don't find out something was fraudulent. Months, sometimes 3 months, 6 months.
Yeah.
You might not find out till somebody checks their credit card bill months and months later. And one thing that is definitely true about fraud is it hits electronic sellers and makers very hard because it's high value, easy to resell, especially if it's something nice and shiny and usable. They're small and so they're easy to cart around. And once you get hit by fraud, they actually do have forums where they chat with each other and they say, I successfly ripped off this vendor for $500, and they swarm in.
Yeah.
And so we've heard from one electronics seller, a hobbyist electronics seller, who their shopping cart had a bug, and it was fairly, the fraud was easy to get through. And one person tried it, and they told all their friends, and I think it was like $50,000 worth of fraud, and they just thought like, it's really popular, and they were hurting later because almost every order was fraud.
Yeah, so we make sure that we're very aware of the way credit cards work, and that's part of customer support. If most of your support is dealing with fraudsters or the people that are contacting you because they're like, what's an Adafruit? I got this bill on my card, and they're contacting you over that. So it's really important that you're giving as much information as you possibly can. And then there's the weird stuff that you don't really expect as an electronics company or even any type of company to keep coming up over and over. So we have a series of videos, and let me zoom in a little bit on these. So we have a series of videos that we did and we continue to do because weird stuff comes up, and it's not stuff that you expect to have to deal with as an electronics company. And so one of the things we're like, wow, like every day we're getting more and more emails, no matter what stickers we do, no matter how we print it on the invoice, no matter what we do, people say, I only got one of my LED strips.
The LED strip.
They order 2 meters. Okay. And then the other thing is we sell keyboards of all types, and the dongles are always inside the keyboard. People get the keyboard and they say, the dongle's missing, I hate you, I'm going to go on Reddit and I'm going to tell everybody how bad you are, and I'm going to go on Twitter and I can't believe this happened. And so what we decided to do was make a video.
Take it away.
So you order the wireless keyboard and mouse combo, but you can't seem to find the USB dongle. No worries, just open up the battery compartment on the keyboard and the mouse, and it should be tucked inside its little storage slot. If it's not there, check the keyboard. There it is. Now just insert the included batteries and plug the dongle into the USB port on your PC, Mac, Raspberry Pi, or BeagleBone, and you're ready to go. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more customer support videos from Adafruit.
Okay, and that was Jessica. She's Director of Community Support and Publishing, and she is the reason why everything works out when you email Community Support and Publishing, and all the reasons that get things online, like our videos, like our blogs. So she helps run the whole thing. So thank you so much, Jessica. And she was more than willing and able and happy to make that video because we were spending so much time saying over and over, and you have canned responses and you can use macro tools.
But we were telling people, no,
matter.
it's there, it's black,
it doesn't matter.
it's in there, you have to pull it out. Nope, you actually had to do a video.
And a phone call wouldn't solve that either. A fax wouldn't solve it. Even video conferencing, you have to just say, watch this video, and they're like, oh yeah. Okay.
Oh, there it is.
Okay.
There it is.
I guess I'll delete the hate post about killing you on Reddit now. So like that's how intense it gets. Because they're like, I bought this and I'm so angry now. And usually it's because they're angry about other things.
Can I tell my favorite story?
Which one?
Is it about the PhD?
Yeah, man. I mean, this is support confession time.
Okay. So this was many years
Welcome
ago.
to support confession.
We had a customer who was an MIT PhD, and I said the MIT.edu email address. He was a PhD at MIT, and he replied, and he said he was going to contact his lawyer, and he was going to take us to small claims because...
No, he said federal court.
Federal court, because we didn't ship him the Arduino that he ordered.
Yeah.
And he said everything else was there but the Arduino. You say you shipped it, and, because we have barcoding, so we know when we've shipped something. And we said, well, what's in your order? And he says, well, I got a breadboard, I got these wires, and I got some LEDs, and I got a pack of cards. And we said, what do you mean a pack of cards? He says, I have a pack of cards. And I said,
yeah, he said, I got a deck of cards.
Deck of cards. And we said, can you open up the deck of cards? And he's like, oh, the Arduino is inside the deck of cards. So even though it had a photo of the Arduino on the outside, he thought it looked like a deck of cards, and he couldn't realize it if you opened it up, the Arduino was inside. So just because your customers are PhDs at MIT does not mean they know how to handle your packaging. You will get the most amazing customer support requests.
Over the course,
and I'm from MIT, so I can say this.
Over the course of hundreds of thousands of customer support emails that I was on, the more times someone claims they're an expert and they're an engineer of 30 years and how many PhDs they have, generally speaking, the meaner and worse they are, because they can't believe that they're wrong or it's not a deck of cards. There's an Arduino inside that. And, you know, it's one of the things that I really admire about beginners. The beginner mind is open. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, like they're willing to open up the box that might look like a deck of cards because they're a beginner, where the expert only knows they're so narrow
that they're like, this thing is a deck of cards. It can't possibly be an Arduino. Anyway, that was pretty amazing. But this is what happens in support. You will get very unusual requests, comments.
So here's another one. So we sell NeoPixels and we sell it by the meter, and we have to spend a bunch of time. Here's how it goes. Here's what you get. If you get 3 meters, get 4 meters, no matter how often, early. And this is one of those times where we...
And it's like bolded and underlined.
Doesn't matter. And it says on the
invoice. We have a sticker on the package.
Flashing things. Doesn't matter what you do. And so what we have now is a video that explains when people say, you didn't send me what I said, I'm going to write this Medium article, I'm going to go on Twitter, I'm going to go on Snapbook and FaceChat. and then
You didn't. You said you sold me 2, but you only got
false
1.
advertising. Yeah. So what
A lot
we
of
did.
false
So what we
advertising.
did was we're like, what
Like
can we
mean
do?
lawyer.
What can we do to support the customer in the best possible way? And that's what it gets down to. What can you do to support the customer in the best possible way? And in this case, 24/7, there is a video that they can see, and they're like, oh yeah,
With puppets.
cool.
Oh, good! Our LEDs came!
Excellent. Wait a second. We only got 1 roll, but we ordered 2 meters.
Oh, that's not good!
Hey, Billy. Hey, Gus. What's wrong?
We ordered 2 meters of LED strip and only received 1 roll.
Gus, if you take it out of the package, you'll see that you actually received 1 2-meter long length.
Oh, excellent.
Thank goodness!
Adafruit's LEDs are sold by the meter, but can come in lengths of up to 4 to 5 meters depending on the product that you buy, and they're always delivered in the longest strip available. For example, the NeoPixel digital LED strip with 30 LEDs comes in 5-meter reels. So if you buy 5 meters of that strip, you will receive 1 full 5-meter reel with 2 connectors. If you buy less than a full reel, you'll still get a single strip, but it will be a cut piece from a full reel, and it may or may not have a connector on it. So make sure to add some JST SM plugs and receptacle cables to your shopping cart. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more customer support videos from Adafruit.
Need help with your project? It's easy to get assistance
Okay.
with your Adafruit person.
So
How can you not love puppets?
yeah, so this has been really helpful. In fact, what we do is if you don't measure something, probably doesn't matter. Shows that it doesn't matter. So what you should do is measure things. So what we try to do every week is have a lower number of emails in customer support. Now, when you have tons of orders, that's hard to do. So what you try to do is have a lower percentage, and the more tutorials we make, the more videos we make, and the more active we are in the customer support forums, the less emails that come in. So speaking of, we made a big decision a long time ago, and it, survivor bias here. One of the things about electronics and anything technical, if you do phone support and private one-on-one email support, long term it's not scalable. And that was one of the things that was in our notes that we got questioned in advance, and also DigiKey had mentioned, is like, well, how do you scale support? And how you scale support is to not have the support hidden from the world. Think about all the times that technical support happens for an open source product that you don't know about. You can't search for it, you can't find it because someone talked on a phone or they sent an email. What you have to do is shift it over and say, what is the issue that you're having? We have full-time engineers that'll help you. That gets indexed on Google, and most of the things have already been solved. Most people, they search and they find it
And the really
before
common
they even come to us.
The really common things that come up, of course, we integrate them back into the tutorial, which is why you don't have a printed manual. You have an online guide you can update all the time. So today someone was like, hey, I noticed that in the Circuit Playground tutorial, you don't mention how to install a library. So I'm like, oh, right, I have to take a screenshot of that. I had already done it and I forgot to mention it. So I'm going to, because this person brought it up in the forums, I can go back, update the guide and say, hey, it's been updated, thanks for the note. But
So-
sometimes there's people who are just like, I'm having a custom project, or they have technical questions. Not everything is going to be covered with a tutorial, no matter how good you are at the tutorial. With 3,000 products, there's just so many different interactions.
So we have full-time engineers. There's Bill and Rick and Mike and K-Town and Phil B and Tony D
And me.
Lady Ada and me, and we're all there, and it's a full-time 24-hour a day thing. And Franklin.
Yeah.
And we get to all of the questions, and they get indexed, and if they're frequent, they go into an FAQ, and if they're more frequent, there's a video, and there's text that we can deliver, and there's things that we can put on the product page. So, a couple hard choices you're going to have to make, I think, with support if you're going maker to market. One, get a blog, just so people can always see that you're updated. Something's happening always, and part of that is like, hey, we released this latest thing. Hey, there's an update to blah, blah, blah. Hey, there's a thing. And you're also going to need to make videos. Here's how this thing works. Here's why. Here it is in action. You're going to have copywriting on the product pages. You're going to have good photos. You're going to need to have things like a learning system or something like it, like Hackster, Hackaday.io, or Instructables.
All these things work together.
Yeah, you'll need to have things like a retailer, and that retailer will need resources to train their staff. That's where videos, again, and learning systems come in. And then forums, a place where the customer can post the issue they're having, your expert staff can help, and that gets indexed by the search engines and more, and people can self-serve and find help. One thing that Adafruit doesn't do, and again, this was just a hard choice, is you can't call us on the phone for technical support. It's not scalable, it'll never work.
No, it's not scalable. And phone is the worst way to do technical support for electronics, because I can't see what you're doing. I can't look at your wiring. You know, I can ask you to take a measurement. It's going to take you a half an hour to go and do that. That's why we use the forums. We can say, hey, take a photo, measure this one in oscilloscope. We can post images and update tutorials and have back and forth code updates.
Yeah.
You know, they can post their code. How is somebody going to explain their Arduino code doesn't work over the phone? It doesn't make any sense. We don't.
Would you read numbers off? You know?
It's never going to work out.
So when we'll get to GitHub and more, we put our schematics up, our code, the comment code and more. So that is one of the things that we do about forums. We want to explain forums. So what did we do? We made a video.
Yay! Puppets!
No, I don't think so.
Need help with your project? It's easy to get assistance with your Adafruit purchases from our technical support engineers in the Adafruit forums. First, log in with your Adafruit username and password, or create an account if you haven't already. Click the video to find out more about making an Adafruit account. Once you are logged in, do a search for the issue you are having. It's likely the answer is waiting for you. But if you can't find it quickly, just make a new post. Select the closest forum subject and click New Topic. If you're not sure, you can post in General Project Help. In your message, tell us what product you need help with by linking us to the product catalog. If it's a problem with your kit, describe precisely the version that you purchased and the problem that you're having. Post clear photographs of the front and back of your circuit, as well as any connections to the board so that we can help you troubleshoot. You can upload photos by using the Upload Attachments button under the Message Editing window. If your photos are too big, resize them to about 800 by 600. For software compiling or upload problems, post the complete text of any error messages you see. Be sure to scroll to the top of the IDE's output window to get all of the text. If there is a lot of text, use the code button and paste the text between the tags so that it formats nicely. For other software problems, tell us what sketch you are running. If it is sample code from a tutorial, include a link to that tutorial page. For library example sketches, tell us the name of the library and the example you are using. For all other programs, post the output from the serial monitor. Again, if there's a lot of output, use that code button when posting. Describe the symptoms of the problem you are having as specifically as possible. If necessary, include a link to a YouTube video of your circuit's behavior. Instead of piggybacking on existing threads, be sure to create a new thread for your issue so our team can follow up effectively. We hope the Adafruit forums will get you back on track quickly so you can share your latest projects. You can do that on the forums too, on the sticky thread at the top of each category. We can't wait to see how your project turned out. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more customer support videos from Adafruit.
Okay, and then other places that we do things online, we of course have Adafruit community, but it's not. We didn't call it an Adafruit community. It was a community for hackers, makers, artists, and engineers. We have over 118,000 people, and then we feature their projects and more, and they're able to show each other's projects, and then when they need to get help, they're telling each other the resources on the Adafruit site. But I'd say the most powerful thing, and this was again kind of a tough decision that now looks really easy, was if you choose to be an open source company, the code is out there, and we put it all in one spot, and we put all of our hardware files in one spot, and we put all of our fritzing.
All the files are up on GitHub, and we used to self-host. It doesn't make sense. We now can have teams and people update. You know, we pay for an account. It's absolutely worth it. We work on everything on GitHub, and it's great because it's very, almost everyone is used to using it now. They make it very easy to sign up. It's a lot easier than we used to use something like SourceForge, which was very confusing. This is way easier, and of course now with the Arduino Library Manager, we automatically push updates. They're picked up by Arduino, and the IDE tells you to update your software. So, these are the software as a service tools. We don't use all of them. Like we use, Gmail, not Zendesk for support, but for GitHub, we find that it's very valuable for managing our software.
Look at it this way. We're never going to make, or no one's going to probably make, a search system better than Google for a while. And so we use Gmail because it can search things faster.
Yeah.
GitHub is doing a really good job managing code. We probably don't want to compete with that. And for us, having a place to handle issues, and for them to kind of take care of it for a very reasonable price is really good. And also, it keeps there's a pace that we like to make sure that we're keeping, which is, are we an open source company or not? Are we putting out code on a regular basis or not? Are we doing things like putting up a fritzing for every single product or not? And we are. So this is one of the summer projects that you and Philby are working on. Why did you do this?
Well, we're going through, and we did this for Circuit Playground, and actually that was one of the first products that we did, but we're making sure that we have fritzing objects for everything, because it actually helps with support. Customers can make diagrams, especially when they have very complicated breadboard setups. They can quickly diagram what they're doing. When we do tutorials, we can have very clear diagrams, which helps a lot. One of the things that is really confusing, and this happens sometimes, is people will build something on a breadboard and they'll actually make a mistake on the breadboard that they don't catch later, because they're rebuilding the project, and then later they're not going to go back and retake that photo. But if they did it in fritzing, it's very easy to update the diagram. So I thought I could even just show fritzing really fast.
Of course.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Because it's an open source tool, and I absolutely recommend it for anybody who's doing support and tutorials and documentation.
Yeah.
So let me just open up the bins first. So give me a second. It's going to load up. We have a couple hundred products, so it takes a while to load them all in. Okay. So what's neat is there's all of these parts that are already in fritzing. So for example, I can look for circuit. Let me actually look for playground. So, we have a rendered version of Circuit Playground. It's beautiful. It's vector art, so it'll look good in print. And then we have these really cool alligator clips, so we can simulate, what does it look like when a customer would be using alligator clips to connect. Hold on, let me rotate this. How do you rotate? There you go. 1 second. Turn off the grid. So it's kind of like a program that's perfect for creating diagrams for tutorials. So let's say we want to add a Bluetooth device. We can show, here's how you wire this up, and it's much easier than if I tried to show this as a photo. It's always clumsy, and it's very hard to get very good lighting. But with this, you and your customers and your community, because if you're a maker, you're part of this maker community, they'll be more likely to create documentation projects using your devices and document them well. Because if you're going to have documentation, just having a bunch of text is no good. So for example, if you look at the Bluetooth Circuit Playground guide. Oh no, my browser crashed. I just updated Firefox. But if you have a tutorial that with a diagram, it's just more likely that people are going to be able to follow it. So you don't have to use fritzing. You can use anything, but I've found that fritzing is kind of the default standard for the maker community.
Okay. You can restart your browser if you wish.
No, my browser is up, but I'm trying to remember the name of the guide. Oh yeah, that crashed.
Okay. Well, anyways,
I'll come back to it.
Yeah. So we did fritzing, and that's the Circuit Playground.
Yeah. So I got all the accessories that we'll do for Circuit Playground, and so when we do tutorials, I use this to help make the diagrams really nice and clear. It adds a professionalism that I think really helps a lot.
And, as far as some of the other topics that come up with support and how we handle it, I did want to mention that for returns, we had to make some decisions early on because we have international customers. How do you do it? Well, basically, 30 days from shipment is what we do. If it's unopened and we go through a bunch of specifics, we usually don't have a problem. We have to do store credit for some things. We really like distributors internationally because if something goes wrong internationally, how are they really going to get it back to us? Who pays for that? Customs, are they going to fill out customs forms? It gets really complicated. One of the things that we saw with like Jet.com that just sold to Walmart, they focus exclusively on the US, and that's why they were able to do some specific things. Batteries gets really tough. So we just ask that people contact us, and we try to be as reasonable as possible. These are electronics, and a lot of it, sometimes it doesn't work out. And, once in a while, we say to folks like, hey, like, this is the 5th Raspberry Pi that you've blown up because you said that you keep plugging in the wrong thing. Like, we can't, you got to skill up a little bit more. Here's a bunch of resources. We can't keep replacing these. And you know what? People are, like, usually pretty chill.
It's very rare. Very, very rare.
Super
Once
rare.
a year, maybe.
Super rare. And one of the things we did, of course, is we made a returns video. So here's how we handle returns at Adafruit.
I don't know why I ordered so many extra NeoPixels. My Cyberfalls wig is perfect. And I ordered this Arduino Uno instead of an Arduino Gemma for my next project. Darn it.
This can happen to anyone. You order the wrong product or you no longer need it for your project. Don't worry. Returning an Adafruit item is easy. Adafruit only accepts returns of unopened items in resellable condition. If your order was shipped domestic, it must be returned within 30 days of receipt to qualify for a refund. For international orders, we must receive the return within 30 days from shipment. Returns past 30 days are only exchangeable for store credit. For returns of items valued at $500 or more, we charge a 5% restocking fee. Contact support@adafruit.com before returning any item for an RMA. Depending on the time the order was placed and the item, we may not be able to issue a refund or store credit. Make sure to send it with trackable shipping and insurance, because if we don't receive your return, we can't give you credit. We recommend UPS and plenty of tape. Customers are responsible for return shipping unless an item arrives defective or damaged.
Oh, I had a problem with my Celebration glasses, and I can't tell if it's the trinket or me.
For technical support questions, or if you believe your item is defective or damaged, make sure you create a post in the forums. Our colleagues in the engineering and technical support forums will be happy to assist you and can authorize replacements or returns if necessary. If you need help posting on the forums, this video should help. And don't worry, we'll be here for you when you get back. We're reasonable people, and we hope that you are too. Contact us if you have any questions, and we will do our best to help you out. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more customer support videos from Adafruit.
Yeah.
Okay. And then another topic.
Jonathan's not a puppet, but he looks a little bit like one.
There's another topic we were asked about to cover is how do you handle reviews? Well, we've decided, again, there is a huge challenge, and Amazon can tell you this, of people faking reviews. Are they really customers? Did they buy it from a distributor? All the things that go into reviews. Basically, reviews seem to be gamed. And they're usually not happy people. They're people that are complaining, and it would be great if you could help and support them. So one of the things that we needed to do when we decided to do Google Trusted Stores, which is just a way for Google to say, is this a legit store? Do they have great customer service? Are they shipping really fast? We kind of experimented, and we said, well, let's see what happens. And because we do such a good job with all of these things, it ended up working out really well. So the reviews that are of Adafruit are not ones that we store on our site. It's part of Google Trusted Stores. When you check out, you get to choose how was your experience. You can always go back and rate it and rank it and more. And we think that's a good way, because if it's your own reviews on your own site, I always see sites with reviews and it's like there's no date, It's unclear if they were a customer or not. It's
Like half
always,
the time, it's like semi-tech support.
Yeah,
if
it's like,
it's
I
a
couldn't
bad
get this to
review,
work.
I couldn't get it to
Yeah.
work. Okay, well, is it like because it's broken or
yeah.
they're
And
like I received it and it was
and our-
smashed in half because like the box was destroyed by a dragon. It's
Yeah.
like, well, that's not really a
and if
review.
you say, well, like you could just verify them as a customer, well, what if they get it from the distributor? So right now, we are up to over 10,000 5-star reviews, and our rankings really high. They say how fast customer service takes, returns, and this is all independent. And it allows us to have a good barometer of how we're doing, and we look at these. And the only ones that are terrible is when, once in a while people things don't work out. UPS loses a package. It's not our fault, but they still had a bad experience. We'll always do what we can, but I get it. And what you want to do is have a majority of them 5-star experiences. Not what we managed to do. So tens of thousands of, let's see, what do we have? Yeah, we're 10,000 plus 5-star reviews. And then the other thing we decided to do, and this gets back to scaling, is Lady Ada can't fly to every conference. She can't pick up every phone. She can't get all of your faxes.
I'm
but-
busy playing Pokemon Go.
But perhaps we could do an online electronic show called Ask an Engineer. And so for the last 7 years, or more, I think it's more now, we've been doing a show called Ask an Engineer every week. It used to be on Saturdays, now it's on Wednesdays. And we answer your questions, lots of engineering questions. We speed round it. We get to all of them. If we can't, we ask you to post in the forums. And we have a whole entire section devoted to questions. And most of the time, people are just trying to figure out what to buy, what to do, where to get help. We do Desk of Lady Ada during the week. We have other Adafruit live shows. We have show and tell, where people show their projects. And once in a while, we're like, here's some suggestions for your project. And we've been doing that for like over 5 years. And I think the stats with these, it's kind of crazy. So for show and tell, we're up to, these are just the ones that made it to YouTube that they've noticed, like 227 videos.
Yeah,
And then for
a couple of years now,
yeah,
every week.
yeah, and they're each a half an hour long, so do the math. And then for Ask an Engineer, there's 219 videos, and we've been doing that for about 7 years or so. So that's pretty intense. Noah and Pedro do a series called Layer by Layer, and these are hours long where they're showing you how to do stuff. And that's kind of the complete picture now. We're just two people speaking on behalf of an entire group. This is Adafruit, and these are the people that are doing this. We're lucky enough, these are all of our bosses. And so this is what you need if you're going to support customers. You need a group of people with a good cause, a good business, opportunities within the company. Every little piece that goes into customer support and customer service comes from the inside. And one of the things that we talk about in all of the interviews, and I've been in every interview for every single person who's come into Adafruit, and I tell the story about Twitter. And people take a photo of the packaging of Adafruit, they open it up, and they say, look how good this is packaged. And they tweet it to all of their friends.
It's mostly Elisa.
And
Elisa was very good at packaging.
She's now in new products. And the thing is, that can go either way. And it could be, look how horrible this packaging is, and look how horrible of a job they did. And so,
Social media is a double-edged sword.
yeah, and it sounds loud, and maybe it goes off the timeline eventually. But there's real people behind these things. The people who got disappointed, the people who got delighted, the people who packed the order, maybe they made a mistake, or the people who packed the order and they did a good job. So this is one of the important things. If you treat people really well in your organization, it just exudes itself into everything, from the emails they're answering, from the code they're writing, to the packages they're shipping. And so I feel like, we got questions in advance and we answer some of them. But the number one thing is, if you treat your people great, they're going to treat the customers great. And that's why we like to partner with certain companies that we know that they're taking good care of their employees. Like when people are applying for jobs at other places, I say, hey, ask to see their employee handbook. Like that's, see what they're thinking about and how they care for people, see if there's different 401ks for different people there.
Yep.
And so it's the most counterintuitive thing that you'll never hear anywhere else, but Good support is good HR. We call it employee resources.
Of course, if your employees are happy, then you're going to have
They want to make
great
customers happy.
You're going to have everyone's going to be happy, and you know, I'll say it. Every once in a while, we get a customer who's abusive.
Never happened.
But in those cases, we side with the employee. Like we will never.
Yeah.
It's not always the customer is always right. If you know we've
Yeah,
had
we've fired customers before.
We've had customers say extremely abusive, rude, not just like, oh, I had a bad day, but like really taking out their anger on our support staff. And
Yeah.
we refund the customer and say, hey, you know what? It doesn't look like we'll be able to do business together.
We'll make suggestions of other companies that they should consider, but once they cross the line, they curse at us, they say something.
Extremely rare. Again, only once a year,
They say something
if
that's
that.
just out of line completely,
Yeah.
something that's sexist or racist or whatever. And having a woman-owned company here, you attract all kinds of people that they're not even customers sometimes. You just have to ban them from your site and your forums. But that is such a small amount of what we deal with. Most of it is trying to keep up with the mailbag thank yous. And
Yeah.
we get 40 or 50 emails, sometimes in a day, often in a week, of thank you so much for what you've done, for the help, for the support. Thank Bill in the forums, thank Rick in the forums, thank Franklin in the forums. These videos that you did helped me out with my business. Like, I have a...
Did anyone say, hey, thanks for the 360 videos?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're like,
Cool.
oh, I know you don't do tours. This was really good. Thanks, because you said you were going to do it. So that's the conclusion of Maker to Market. We hope we've showed all sorts of parts of Adafruit. For more information on Maker to Market and our launch partner, DigiKey, which I'll say this, DigiKey is one of the few companies that have very similar values to Adafruit on how they treat their customers, how they treat people. So we were really happy to do this with them. You can see this entire series there, some of the things they put together. Some shout outs. Thanks Dave Doherty, president of DigiKey, for doing the interview. You can see that on youtube.com/Adafruit. We did a whole thing. This is, I think, the first time they did an interview. They even let us borrow the DigiKeyer.
Yeah.
And
That's it. The DigiKeyer.
And,
the Circuit Playground could act like a DigiKeyer. So that might be one of the projects where we have it be a Morse code trainer.
Yeah.
Bring it back to the beginning.
So for the folks at DigiKey, Dave, Jim, David, Randall, we ran into at Apex, and he is a senior engineer there, and he's definitely been someone who said, hey, these crazy, I don't know if he said we're crazy, but these crazy Adafruit people,
Yeah.
He was always really helpful for us, so thanks. Brooks, Nate, Kevin, Jennifer, and Dawn, who run all the social media stuff.
All the people we bought the components to manufacture Circuit Playground, and you guys shipped it to us.
Yeah.
Thanks.
On our team, Teddy, John, Nikki, Jared, Stella, Mary, everyone at Adafruit. And again, we just happen to be on camera talking, but these are our bosses. These are the people who
These are the people who
run
do the
Adafruit.
manufacturing and the shipping and the QA.
Yeah, this is our team.
And the support. This is a team effort. It isn't just about me or about Phil or even about Adabot. We have
It's
to.
often about MOSFET, though.
It's often about MOSFET because he's
cat.
selfish and he's a cat.
Yeah.
But it's
Okay.
something, I wouldn't be able to do the engineering if I didn't have the support of this team behind me. So taking care of your team is really, really important. Whenever people interview CEOs, after they ask them, how do you innovate? They always tell you how to innovate. They always say, well, what's the toughest problem you find in business? And they always say, hiring and retaining good people and treating your people well is a key part of that.
Yeah. And I think, we talked about all the different parts of Maker to Market, and I think support wasn't going to be the time where you talk about how you treat your employees, but that's where I think it starts and ends, is how well you treat each other is ultimately how you're going to treat the customers.
Absolutely.
And you have to be respectful to everyone, and if you trust people, they'll trust you. And that's the fortunate position we've been put in. And it's not all roses. Like Adafruit's held to the highest standard. Everything we do gets looked at very closely by everyone. We're very proud of that. The code that we write, the videos we do, and we're up for it. I mean, it's a lot of scrutiny. How pure is Lady Ada with her open source? You know, how fast are we publishing our videos? How quickly can we get to a customer? Every email we send to a customer, if we did a bad job, it would end up on, you know, I always look at it this way. What you're sending someone can end up on the front page of your hometown newspaper. I think Warren Buffett said that. It's not quite accurate now, as newspapers aren't as popular, but now it can end up being an article on a blog or something. And so make
Could
sure
be on the front page of BuzzFeed.
Yeah, so make sure what you're saying is something you're proud of at all times, and how you're treating people you're proud of at all times. And once in a while, you got to be firm but fair in all parts of life. And I think people respect when you say, "Hey, like that's not okay. This is okay. Now let's work together." That's true with employees. It's true with customers. You know, sometimes we get asked for stuff we just can't do, and then sometimes we get asked for things that are a big challenge, and we want to over deliver, and we can do it. So that's the support episode. And with that, Lady Ada, we are done with Maker to Market 10 weeks in a row.
Yay! Of course, the epilogue, you know, there's one...
The epilogue laser?
There's an epilogue, 10B,
Yeah.
which is, you know, after you've done this whole step of getting your product to market, you're not done. You actually have to now, I used to say you have to kill your darlings.
Okay.
So, yeah, when, you know,
It's gonna
we
be
came out with
dark.
Flora, the first thing we thought of was, how can we come up with something better? Let's do Gemma.
Oh, yeah.
And then after Gemma, we're like, well, how can we do something
you gotta
better?
compete with yourself.
You have to compete with yourself so that other people don't compete with you. So I'm already starting to plan out Circuit Playground 2. I already know what I'm going to do for it. We're going to have it maybe run MicroPython. It's going to be web programmable. Maybe it'll be Arduino compatible, maybe not. You know, these are things that you have to think about when you're designing a product. I once read that the Square Enix, they make the video game Final Fantasy. It takes so long to make a game that while they're working on Final Fantasy 8, they already have Final Fantasy 9 halfway done, because you can't wait till you're finished. I mean, you have to release. So you know, all the new technologies come out, they have to eventually say, no, this is it. We're going to finish this game. The new technology will go into the next game, and so you can recycle and cycle your technology to move forward. But releasing, getting it out there is important. It's very easy to get caught up with, oh no, there's a new chip, there's a new sensor, like I should go back and redesign it. No, launch and then just prepare to compete with yourself. It's important to get it out there. I see sometimes products get stillborn because of this desire to chase the latest technology. Keep that for your next version. You can always come out with the new iPad or the new laptop, right? There's never only one version. There's always, you know, the next generation. So the Mark 8.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for the kind words and more. We'll pass this along to Maker.io and DigiKey. They're already watching, so they're probably in the chat as well.
Do you have a cat?
Yeah, well, you have a cat.
Okay,
Here,
I'm gonna give you the
pass the cat over. Yeah, watch out. He's getting antsy because we keep putting him on camera.
Okay, let go.
He's like, yeah.
Long cat.
Maker to MOSFET.
Maker to MOSFET?
Yeah, that's the next series. So
Okay.
we'll be doing other videos and more. Thanks so much. We're going to try to do another series of these. We're going to talk to our partners and more and see what's possible. This was enjoyable. We got to show a lot of Adafruit.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah.
We got to take it from beginning to end. I mean, everything that we did with this series is how we run the company.
Yeah.
We basically told all of our secrets.
Yeah.
Did we open the kimono?
For you young people out there, that young engineer, that young Lady Ada that's thinking of starting a company, watch the videos and compete. And I hope you put us out of business.
That'd be cool.
That's why we
You'll
put
need
it
a
out
cat
there.
though. Don't forget.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're trying to do, is make more makers. So, you know, you can come work with us eventually. It'd be cool to
A lot of when people
start a competing
they're
company.
inspired by us. They run a company and we
Yeah.
buy their stuff. They buy our stuff and we work together.
That's my favorite, because
that's the favorite.
you know, good competition is good.
Yep.
It is.
It's better to have good competitors than bad competitors. Trust me. Bad competitors, no fun. You want good competitors. Keep your
Yeah.
pace. Keep your pace going.
Yeah. All right, everyone.
Okay.
Well, with that, I'm going to play a Circuit Playground video, and then I'm going to play you walking through the factory.
You can walk. You can play that on loop. Walk through the factory forever.
Well, it's a little bit of a loop, but it's about a minute long, and then we'll get that Circuit Playground video. All right.
right.
Bye, everybody.
Later.
Circuit Playground is our new all-in-one board aimed towards education and beginners. It features 10 NeoPixel LEDs, a motion sensor, a temperature sensor, mini speaker, sound sensor, a light sensor, 2 buttons, and a switch. We think it's a great way to practice programming on real hardware with no soldering or sewing required. The onboard Atmega32U4 processor is Arduino compatible, so you can program it with the Arduino IDE and upload your code via micro USB. It also has a JST connector, so you can plug in a battery to make your projects portable.